Hi, everybody. My name is Miss Wall. I am the Gear Up Advisor for ninth and 10th grade. Welcome back to College Week. Today, we are welcoming the University of Notre Dame for a short presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Kelly, who works in admissions, and Miss Acosta, who is an alumni of Notre Dame from Lawrence.
Awesome. Thank you, Lawrence High, for having us. Again, my name is Shannon Kelly. I'm an admissions counselor from the University of Notre Dame. I've been with the university for almost 10 years now, and I've been working primarily with students from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share our story and share our college. And if you have any interest after today, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll make sure you get our contact information. Before we get started with the presentation, I do want to give my colleague Vanessa a chance to introduce herself. So Vanessa.
Thanks, Shannon. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us. I'm Vanessa. As we said, I'm an alum of the university. I graduated in 2018, so not that long ago, I promise. And I am from Lawrence. I was actually born in the Dominican Republic, but I've lived in Lawrence almost my entire life. So I am from the area, and I, went out to the university. I survived, and I'm back. So we can talk a little bit more later on about my experience and how I got there.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. So our goal today is really just to share a little bit about Notre Dame. We recognize that some of you are ninth graders and some are 10th graders, and you're still really early in the college admissions process. Our hope is just to tell you a little bit about our campus, some of the exciting things that are happening at Notre Dame, and then things that you can be thinking about as you begin your research on a college. We recognize that college is not for everyone, but we hope after today, maybe you're going to be inspired, whether it's by Notre Dame's community or maybe another. So we'll tell you a little bit about just Notre Dame great, what makes us unique, and what makes us a little bit different in our academics and overall spirit of the university. So I'm going to share my screen right now so that everyone can have a view of our presentation. So hopefully you're seeing the presentation. Vanessa, are we all good? Can you see it? Fantastic. Awesome. So I'm going to give us a big full screen mode. So just to give you a couple things, as you start thinking, I'm sure many of you are like, I have no idea this school. I've never heard about the University of Notre Dame. So rather than just thinking about names or brands, I want you to think about the type of person that you are. And Notre Dame is a type of place that welcomes students who are really into school spirit. So there's lots of energy at Notre Dame. We take really great pride in our institution, and we want students that are going to just be over the moon about being on our campus, want to wear our Notre Dame sweatshirt every day, and just being really excited to just be at the university and be part of the community. Another piece too, Notre Dame is a Catholic institution. And so if you are a student where faith is important to you, Notre Dame could be a place that really elevates just the way you think about faith, what you think about spirituality, and how you think about just overall religion. Don't have to be Catholic to go to Notre Dame, but those are some things to be thinking about as you go through the college discernment process. Is my faith important to me, and do I want to go to a Catholic college? The last thing I'll say before we get started, on top of school spirit and our Catholic faith, Notre Dame is a liberal arts school. And so what that means is we want all our students to experience a broad range of study. We don't want you to just be the engineer or just be the scientist. We want you to be all the things. We want you to be able to write well, to think critically, and just to really enjoy being a student. And so those are some things to be thinking about while you're selecting a college or thinking about the college process. Notre Dame's a type of place where you're going to work hard. You're going to think critically about yourself. But more importantly, you're just going to become the better version of yourself through just the energy and spirit of the university. So let's get started. This college will be the most powerful means for doing good in the country. And so, when we think about Notre Dame, we really are looking for students who are going to be beyond themselves, right? We don't want you just to come to Notre Dame to get a great education, go to school, not really engage. We are looking for students who are going to give themselves to others, be part of service opportunities, really think about their community and how they can better the people around them. So that's really where that quote's coming from. So we're going to move on. I'm sure you're probably thinking, okay, that's great. Your school sounds kind of fun, but where are you guys located? So before Vanessa starts jumping in to talk about the people of Notre Dame, I just wanted to give you a general sense of where Notre Dame is located. So you can see Boston's in the upper right-hand corner, and Notre Dame is about 14 hours to the west. We are located in South Bend, Indiana, which is about 90 miles east of the city of Chicago. So if you have Chicago right there in the middle of the country, Notre Dame is just off the beaten path there, about 90 miles east. The best way to describe our campus, and as you start thinking about what kind of environment you want to be in, Notre Dame is very much a suburban college town. So the community is really dedicated to the university. Our school is not lost in some big city. We're not surrounded by big buildings. It is very much a place where you can spread out and run around and have the space just to be free and really enjoy the people that you're around. So hopefully this gives you a better sense of where our community is located. So now I'm going to transition to our population and talk a little bit about our overall community. And so hopefully, Vanessa, you can give some highlights there.
Sure. So I know looking at your screen, you have the data, Shannon, but it's about 8,000 to 9,000 undergrad students. So maybe about, you guys, math is not my strong suit, but about 2,500 students per class. And then we have almost 4,000 grad students and professional students. So when you get to campus, for those that choose to apply and go to the university, it's a random roommate situation. So, you're placed in a random dorm on the campus with a random person, maybe two people, depending on the dorm. And they could be from Tampa, Florida, like many of the people in my section were. They could be from Puerto Rico. They could be from China. They could be a lot of Californians. They could be from a lot of different places. They come with a lot of different experiences. Some people might be Catholic. Some people might be religious, other religions. Some people speak 2 or 3 languages. So really when you get to campus, you're all coming from a different experience, a different background, but you're all kind of united by that piece of wanting to be a good person, a better person, wanting to better yourself. You're gonna find somebody who's gonna make like your best friend for life on this campus. Someone who's gonna want to help you through classes and study with you. You're really gonna find, that partner, that buddy, someone you can trust. So that's really what you find when you go to campus, is a community of people that are all kind of looking out for each other and doing life together. I don't know if you want me to hit any specifics, Shannon.
No, that was perfect. And just the shot that you see here, one thing that Vanessa and I want to drive home, Notre Dame is truly a residential campus. So as you start thinking about, what's important to you, and not that you need to define your college environment right away, but think about who you are right now. What's important to you? Do you love having lunch with other people? I recognize a lot of you are at home, but if you can think back to last year, 2 years ago when you were in school, what did it look like for you? Were you hanging out with your friends outside of school? Were you, really big on having lunch with certain people? Notre Dame's a type of place where we want to be in community all the time. And so the picture that you see here is of one of our 2 dining halls on campus. Students eat 2 to 3 meals in this space. And this is pre-COVID. They've had to change some things around given kind of the regulations there, but we take great pride in that students can come together, talk about their lives, think critically about who they are. We don't want you to do college on your own. So as you, again, really driving home, as you start thinking big picture of what college can look like for you, we're a type of place where we want people to be together all the time, because we find it very important to be in community so that you can be successful. Alrighty, so we'll keep it moving. All right, maybe it's not gonna move. That's fine, that's cool too. There we go. Alrighty, so just wanted to give you a couple things. As I mentioned in the very beginning, Notre Dame is a really, really active campus. And so we want students who are gonna be engaged in everything, right? Most of our students on average are doing a little bit of everything, from athletics to the performing arts to maybe service. Vanessa, do you wanna talk about maybe some of the things that you did when you were an undergrad?
I was definitely very involved on campus, and there's so many opportunities to do that. Our campus is very sporty, and I've never really been a sporty person, but I did go to all the football games, and I don't regret it. It was such a great community experience to do that. And then I got involved in the ways that were important to me. Someone recommended to me, as a freshman, make sure you go to the Latino freshman retreat. And I thought, okay, I guess I went to Central Catholic for high school, so I knew kind of what a retreat was. So I thought, okay, I guess I'll go. I ended up making some of my best friends through that retreat. And they introduced me to Latino campus ministry. And then I used to go to the Spanish masses that they have once a week on campus. And I got really involved with that community. And I would set up masses, and I served on the retreat. I would be, serve as a retreat leader. So that was a really huge part of my community. Through them, I found the Institute for Latino Studies, and I eventually picked up a minor in Latino Studies. So, going back to that idea of liberal arts, we really are liberal arts, and you can really fit in so many things if you want to learn. But that became another huge community for me, the Institute, because it wasn't just for studying. I mean, they had a whole community there where we'd have lunches together, we'd have events, and it was always kind of centered around food. But we'd have events together, and they would bring us like authentic foods, that I wasn't even used to eating, because I met a lot of Mexican people, and I hadn't known that many Mexican people here in Lawrence, and that's changed a little bit since then. But so I got to eat like real authentic Mexican food, because there's a pretty big population. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So that was huge for me. And another huge community was actually dorm life. So our dorms are really special, and we don't have Greek life at Notre Dame. So there's no sororities, fraternities at Notre Dame. But I like to think of the dorm life as like the better parts of Greek life. So the community aspects that you get from Greek life, you can definitely get that through the dorms. There's a lot of ways that you can get involved doing different events in the dorm. There's dorm masses. There's formal dances, and there's less formal dances that are a part of the dorm. You can design t-shirts for your dorm. A lot of fun events that you can be a part of. I actually ended up being the multicultural commissioner while I was living in Ryan Hall. I was the vice president at one point, and then I served as resident assistant. So I loved my dorm community. And that does become a huge life of Notre Dame when you're there for a lot of people.
Definitely. Vanessa hits on a really important point. Notre Dame is a type of place where students are coming from all 50 states, over 88 different countries. And Notre Dame is very much a national, global community. And all of us are from somewhere else. And I think that's the students that choose Notre Dame are willing to take a little bit of a risk to step outside of their home community and make a new community at Notre Dame and meet people that are a little bit different than them. Whether it's racially, ethnically, socially, religiously, really just learning new perspectives and ideas. So that way you can transform yourself, cultivate your mind, your heart, and your spirit, and then go back to maybe your hometown and make an impact in that local community. Most of our students don't remain in the Midwest after graduation. Many of them will return back to their homes. I know Vanessa did, and slowly make an impact in their local community and their economy. So something to think through. And I totally agree with Vanessa. Our residential community, so our dorms on campus, there is a big loyalty and affiliation to wherever you end up living. So wherever you end up living on campus, each dorm has its own mascot, its own colors, its own signature events. Think of your high school and all the school spirit within. We've got that times 33 on campus, where we have really great pride for the people that we live with. Because most of the times, you're going to be doing homework with that person, eating with that person. Maybe you're having a life chat. Maybe you're crying. Lots of crying in college just happens, right? A lot of feels, right? You're away from home and you're going through some things. But I couldn't imagine being anywhere else like a place like Notre Dame, where we foster that community and we really do love one another. So to Vanessa's point, sounds like she had a pretty active 4 years at Notre Dame, and that is true of most Notre Dame students, that they're doing a little bit of everything while they're on campus. So we wanted to add this photo and just talk a little bit about our community. Just some other points. I know I mentioned in the very beginning that Notre Dame is a private Catholic college. You do not have to be Catholic in order to go to Notre Dame. We tend to attract a lot of Catholic families, but it is not a requirement as part of the admission. We do have, whether you're a faith-based student or not, Notre Dame does want to make sure that students have to engage in faith life. So those of you who are Catholic, we offer 150 Catholic masses per week. There's chapels, so basically little churches in every building on campus. So if you want to roll in and light a candle or, pray or think about your family, you're more than welcome to do that. We offer Mass in multiple languages, from Korean to German to French to Latin to Spanish. And so we want to make sure you have opportunity to practice your faith. Again, Mass is not required, just part of the campus experience. For those of my students in this space that are non-Catholic or non-faith-based or practice a different religion, that's totally fine. Notre Dame embraces you. They welcome you. We are incredibly inclusive and welcoming. We will make sure that you have a chance to practice your faith, whether it's in our Muslim prayer room, or it's us providing transportation to a local temple or synagogue, or wherever your place of worship might be. And so Notre Dame takes really great pride in its Catholic identity. So something to think about if that's important to you as you start considering colleges. Alrighty, so let's get into the academics. So we talked a lot about just the overall community, the school spirit, thinking about just where you're going to be living and who you're going to be. It does make for a really great college experience, but you also have to go to school. And so as I mentioned in the very beginning, is a liberal arts institution. And so we want to make sure that as a student that you're taking classes in a lot of different subject areas. And so all our freshmen will have to take different math and science and history courses while they're at Notre Dame. But eventually you will find your home in one of the 4 colleges or 2 schools that we have at Notre Dame. So there's 6 areas of study. Our largest college on campus is the College of Arts and Letters, and this is home to our humanities majors. And this is when you think about, like, I want to be a history major, or maybe I want to go into political science. That's really for those types of students. Our most popular major, though, is probably the Mendoza College of Business. So my friends who are thinking about management, marketing, finance, accounting, maybe you want to work on Wall Street someday, Mendoza College of Business tends to be a very popular choice among many of our students that come from the Northeast. So you'll have the option there too. And we do still have a lot of space for our engineers and science majors and those who are thinking about maybe going into architecture or global affairs. So if you're really into international relations and compromises between countries and relationships between different countries, maybe the Keough School of Global Affairs will be of interest to you. And so, yep, I mentioned in this slide as well, in the lower left-hand corner, I know some of you might be interested in popular majors. I wanted to list those on the screen so you are aware of what you could be studying at Notre Dame. I do want to make clear that Notre Dame is not one of those places where you have to study one thing. If you want to study multiple things, you can. And I think Vanessa talked a little bit about that, picking up one major and then having a minor as well. And so basically just taking on additional courses in an area of study that you might be really passionate about. So don't think that you just have to study pre-med while at Notre Dame. You can be a pre-med person and then also study economy or economics, or study maybe theology or study philosophy. There are a lot of different ways where you can gather different types of major topics and study all the things while at Notre Dame. The last thing I want to mention here, just in the middle part of this picture, 98% of our students will successfully move on to sophomore year. So I recognize 9th and 10th grade, maybe you're not thinking about some of these critical percentages, but as you get to grade 11 and grade 12, start asking your colleges some big questions. And one big question you want to ask them is, how likely is it for me to transition from my freshman year of college to my sophomore year of college? That is known as a retention rate. How likely am I going to stay at your school? And at Notre Dame, 90% of our freshmen will move on to their sophomore year. This is a huge percentage. And that I can attest, we have so many faculty members that are engaged in your life at Notre Dame that there's no way you can fail our school. You're not going to do Notre Dame on your own. As Vanessa mentioned, you're going to have resident advisors that are part of your life in the dorms. You're going to have your faculty, your advisor in the classroom. There are going to be so many type of adults that are in your life, making sure that you're doing what you need to do to be successful at Notre Dame. Vanessa, do you want to maybe touch on your experience with your faculty advisor at Notre Dame?
Sure. And I think I need to say that it actually started way before I was a first year at Notre Dame, because I was able to do the 2-week summer pre-college program that they offered, and that was my introduction to Notre Dame. And while I was there, I took a psychology course with one of the Notre Dame professors. Later on, I find out he's actually the department head for for the psychology department. I didn't know that at the time, and he was just, a funny South African guy in a t-shirt teaching my class for the summer, right? Well, then I got to Notre Dame. I was a first year student, and I was taking intro to psychology. That ended up being my major. And I was in this huge 200-person lecture room, and Henri Venter stood up at the end of this first lecture, and he said, "Vanessa Acosta, you're in this class. Why haven't you said hi to me yet?" And ever since then, I would meet up with him, with Henri. He was on a first name basis kind of person. And I would meet up with him for coffee, for lunch, at least once every semester. And he would look out for me, and he would talk to me. He actually eventually got me into the psychology major. I started out neuroscience pre-med. And he advised me in a very low key, way. He wasn't telling me what to do, but he would listen to me. He would advise me. And he was supportive of my journey the entire time I was at Notre Dame. And as a first year, you also have your first year of studies advisor who, they map out your semester for you. So you don't even have to worry about, okay, how am I going to take these classes? What do I need to do? They help you map that out yourself. You can do they make your schedule with you. You have a lot of support in terms of free tutoring. I believe the first year there was free groups sessions that you could do together, which was a lifesaver for me. So I lived in those sessions. And then once you transition into your major, into your college, you have an advisor that you meet with, I believe, every semester. But you have access to them more often than that if you need it. And part of the dorm life, you do have RAs, but you also have a rector that lives in the dorm, and this is their full-time job, is you. And you can really go to them as another resource, and it's not necessarily academic, but they're there for you. And that was how I really got through a lot of things. I had a really big loss my junior year of college, and my rector was there for me. She was, to this day, she's one of my friends. So it's you find a lot of support, official supports, but also just unofficial adults that care for you and want to help you, professors that invite you to dinner at their house, all of that.
Definitely. I totally agree with all those things. And that brings me to just kind of the resources at Notre Dame. Once you're admitted to Notre Dame, there are going to be a lot of folks that are going to insert themselves in your life, and they're just going to continue to ask you if you need help. And you're going to sometimes be like, yeah, definitely, I need help with this. And then other times you're going to be like, yo, leave me alone. But I do want to make clear that because we have students coming from all walks of life, we recognize that maybe the foundation that you have might be a little bit different than to your classmates, but we want every student at Notre Dame to have an equal experience. And so through our Office of Student Enrichment, that first line at the top, we're going to make sure that, affordability is there. So if you need access to football tickets, or you need a new laptop or a new winter jacket, or maybe you need clothes for a formal interview that you're having for an internship, Notre Dame's going to help you with all those things and so much more. We have programming for first generation students to help them transition to college, to make sure they know exactly what's going on to be. We have programs for multicultural students, and I know Vanessa talked about that, making sure that no identity is lost while being at Notre Dame, that you can be emphasized and loved and appreciated for who you are and what you are and who you're going to be. We do make sure that every student has a chance to express themselves while on campus. So we have a pretty robust LGBTQ community, and even though Notre Dame is a Catholic institution, there's a beautiful they coexist together, that all our identities on campus can be as one at Notre Dame. And I so appreciate that the students at the university have strong values, good moral compasses, and appreciate one another. So lots of resources at Notre Dame while you're there. And if you don't know if we have it, just ask and we'll make sure that you get it. Alrighty, so we know we have a few minutes left with you. We just want to touch base on a few things. Last kind of percentage I wanted to share with you, and this is another big question you need to be asking colleges when you are in grade 11 and 12. What is your graduation rate? And Notre Dame, after 4 years of college, 95% of our students will graduate on time, and on time is 4 years. That puts us at number one in the country, that even though students are coming from different walks of life, they might be behind in some of their classes, maybe they changed their major 15 times, we're gonna make sure you finish college in 4 years and that you get placed in a job in graduate school in a timely manner. And so that's a big number to be asking your schools. How likely is it that I'm going to not only enroll at your school, stay there, but graduate? And Notre Dame, 95% will finish in those 4 years. And again, it goes back to all the incredible resources that are at our school. Alrighty, so, and Vanessa, just wanted you to have a chance to kind of talk a little bit about what it means to be a Notre Dame grad. So we talked a lot about the great community, the great academics. We are all about school spirit, the Catholic identity. We have tons of resources. It sounds like Notre Dame has a pretty cool college experience, but what do the connections look like after graduation?
Yeah, so I think I can definitely speak to this, and any Notre Dame person that you find on the street that you see that has an ND logo on, they're going to say the same thing. When you go to Notre Dame, it's not a 4-year commitment. It's a lifetime, because that is your community for life. So, you know, you're bringing yourself to Notre Dame, you're creating a home there, and that home goes with you wherever you go. So if you're looking for jobs, you can tap into the network, and they're going to want to help you because they know you're good people. And you have access to the alumni clubs. The alumni clubs do a lot while you're a current student and as you graduate as well. I'm secretary of our alumni club right now, of the Club of Greater Boston. I also helped start the subcommittee dedicated to racial and social justice this last year. And we ended up winning the Force for Good award, actually. So I just want to let you guys know that that's really cool and exciting for our club. But we offer a lot of events. There's a lot of fundraising efforts for students. There are things like the oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank as to what.
Summer service learning and
yes, yes. So we do some fundraising for the summer service learning students. So sorry, I'm having a day, but you can sign up to do a project over the summer, and there's so many places that you can do them, but we actually have multiple sites here in Massachusetts. We have 2 in Lawrence, and we have some in the greater Boston area where students from Notre Dame come to the area and they do work for the summer. Some students work at Lazarus House Ministries, if you guys are familiar with Lazarus House here in Lawrence. Some students actually go to the Boys and Girls Club of Lawrence, and they do some work there. And this is an every year thing. Students come to be part of the community and serve and learn from the community. And they get scholarships for that as well. And the alumni club is a huge part of fundraising for them.
Excellent. Yep. So what we really want to drive home is that as soon as you're admitted to Notre Dame, you are part of the Notre Dame family for a lifetime. It's not that you're going to do 4 years of college and then you're going to peace out and never talk to us again. We will be part of your life forever. And that might not be important to you right now, but you're going to find one of the greatest gifts about being part of a school like Notre Dame is the network of people that will always have your back. And I think that loyalty is so important, especially when there's a lot of uncertainties in life. It's nice to always have this group of people that you can rely on for resources, internships, job placement, service opportunities, funding, or just having a casual life chat. Vanessa and myself are always available just to walk through anything. And it doesn't mean you have to go to Notre Dame, but if you just have general questions about college, we want to be able to help. And that brings me to kind of my last 2 slides here. Notre Dame meets full need. I know there was a big question about financial aid. I don't want you to be discouraged by Notre Dame if you were to see the total cost of attendance. Notre Dame wants to make sure if you're admitted to the university that you have the ability to attend. So we meet 100% of your demonstrated need. We are one of 67 schools in the country that can do that. And so if affordability and financial aid is an important piece to your college decision, which it should be for everybody, know that Notre Dame is going to provide significant scholarships as part of their offer of admission. We want to make sure that you are not going to have any barriers in getting to college. And then the final piece, what are some things that you could be thinking about as grade 9, grade 10? Take some challenging classes, speak to your advisors and say, hey, I'm doing well in my regular classes. I think I could take an honors class or an AP class. maybe start getting involved in school a little bit. I know it's been a little bit weird with COVID that not a lot of us have been able to do extracurriculars, but once the doors are open again, think about service, think about joining a team, think about the performing arts, and then keep track of those activities so you know exactly what you've done over the last 4 years. And then the last two pieces, start researching. I know all of us are researching all the time on our phones, on our iPads. Don't be afraid to start thinking about who you want to be, what careers you're interested in, and then take it one step further. What college do I like? Is this college for me? Is there a good social fit, a good academic fit? Would my family be proud of me going to this school? And so I know there was a lot of information shared with you. I want to thank so much Vanessa for joining me today and sharing a little bit of her experience being from Lawrence. Hopefully there was a connection there. If you guys have any questions after today's session, don't hesitate to reach out. I have my email address at the very bottom. I'll make sure that you get connected with Vanessa if you want to know what it was like leaving Lawrence and going to a place like Notre Dame. But with that being said, we want to thank you so much for your time, and we hope that you guys stay safe and stay well. And of course, go Irish.